All right, so we're going to try to do Sheetal's level 9. The forces that be have not been very accommodating to her. We had scheduling conflicts last week that she couldn't get in. Now we're in, but we're having technical difficulties. She can't screen share and she can't see my screen, so we're gonna try to figure it out. And if we can't, then I guess we'll make it third time's the charm and hope that that works. So stay tuned and hang out with me for a minute, and hopefully we'll figure it out. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so can you see me now?
No.
No. It's got to do with your connection then. How's your signal on your tablet?
It's good. I don't know why this is happening.
Okay. Do you not have access to your computer or maybe a cell phone, something that you can get in the community and look at your 5 images? Because we can do that. You don't have to be.
I'll connect through the phone.
Okay, perfect. So let's do that then, and just go to your level 9 and just bring up your images, because I'm just showing them 1 through 5, so you'll be looking at the same ones then.
Okay. I'll just do that.
Okay. Oh no, I lost her. Google, fix it. Third time's the charm. Let's try again.
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, can you see the image?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so tell me a little bit about this image.
Yeah, so I wanted to try out something that was a little old school, like the 60s, 70s, the actresses, the way the hair and makeup and everything was done. So this was an effort towards something like that. And yeah, so I like that, like the blingy stuff and everything. In this portrait, it's not visible much, but that's why I got like the shiny sequency stuff. And yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. On a scale of 0 to 3, with 3 being the highest, what would you put this image at?
Probably 2. I was pretty happy with, like, this is what I was aiming to get. So like this was the point of the shoot. Like, this is what the look that I was looking for.
Okay. Okay, I agree. So the way that we do it is with level 4, we're pretty generous, and we're just really kind of looking to get a feel for your work. At your level 9 critique, I'm looking to grade you based on the work that you came in with. It's still only based on you, but I'm looking to see growth, which I definitely have been in the last couple of levels with you all around. You opened your new studio and you've been posting new work, and I'm definitely seeing improvement in the work itself. So this is one of my more favorite images that I've seen from you so far in the Arcanum. I think that it's well done. You definitely kind of accomplished that sort of old school Hollywood glamour actress kind of feel to it. There's only a couple of things. The image is a little noisier than I like. It's a little grainy, which may have more to do with the equipment that you're shooting on. But sometimes that comes in with the retouching that you're doing. Different adjustments will just bring the noise and the grain out. So I do think that it's a little noisy, which I actually think works a lot because it adds a little bit of film grain for like more of the traditional like black and white photography, but I've never been a big fan of it with color because it makes the skin look muddy to me. That said, the skin textures are just a little bit yellow, and we're seeing just a little bit of discoloration and banding from the really strong highlights into the shadows. Like right here, you can see it's got that like Hazard orange kind of feel. So we're losing just a little bit of the color consistency here, and I'd like to see that softened a little bit.
Okay.
I'd have to see the unretouched file to figure out if that's something that we're getting in camera and with the way that we're lighting, or if that's something that's coming out in the post-processing. But you can kind of see it like right here specifically. There's like this little like indent in color, and what that does is it makes her cheeks look bumpy, like they're uneven skin, because the light will always shine on the hardest parts. There's a couple of places that I think we could have softened. Like I love the strong highlight on her lip because it gives that really beautiful glossy kind of feel to it. Not as much on the chin and the nose. I would be inclined to soften those. The catch lights in her eyes are good. They should come off just a little bit. You never want them into the whites, and they're kind of bleeding into the whites of her eye here. And I would like to see the eyes lit up just a little bit more. This is really, really hard when you have sort of this ethnicity, because they tend to have really, really dark brown eyes. So it's really hard to actually get the color of the irises to pop. As opposed to if you have like blue or green eyes, or, you know, some people have like those hazel and those light colors. When you have the really dark, like chocolate brown, we tend to lose them, and the irises just blend into the pupils. So you can go in digitally though and just sort of dodge and burn a little bit to pull that color out around the irises, which I think would really draw you in because she's giving really good face. I like the more shallow depth of field, and that her hands aren't quite so sharp. However, I'm thinking that that might have been, is that in camera, or did you go in and soften that in post?
No, I softened it later.
Okay, so one thing that you want to pay attention to when you're doing that is that everything on the same plane should be the same sharpness. So technically, her hand's probably the same sharpness as her face because they're on the same plane. So you don't want to soften the features of the figure, but then keep tack sharp after elements like all these little strings. These should be softened to the same extent as her hands. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I did that because like the ring was like really standing out. So so that's why I softened it a little. But yeah, I'll get it on the same level as the stuff and things.
Yeah, I'm totally fine that you decided to soften it. I would just soften it evenly all the way across and just take the focus down and the sharpness down a little bit on her outfit too. Like you start to get it down here. So this really, really sticks out because it's such a high contrast to color on the skin that it's really, really popping. And you don't want people to focus right here. You want them to focus on her face. So selective focus is good, but I would start softening it pretty much outside of the circle that Google wants you to tag the face kind of thing. This is a pretty good element of where your sharp focus should be, and then everything outside of that would start to fade away.
Okay.
You did great with the highlights in the hair, though. It bleeds in just a little bit. We start to lose it here between the back of her hair and the back of the piece of furniture she's on. The only other thing that sort of draws my attention away is like this little like metal piece of the furniture she's on here. I would probably take that out. Just pull the black straight down, just because this highlight band keeps drawing my attention away. But they're very little minimal things. Overall, it's a really beautiful photograph. So I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to give this one a 2. I think it's a very commendable image.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you see the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about this one.
This was a client shot. So we picked up this dress, especially because of the color and because it had that my typical that flow thing, and we were just pulling it and while throwing the fabric around, and it was giving this very lovely flow. And for the first time, I was happy with the hands. I'm not sure if they're like perfect, but yeah, always I struggle with the hands, and I was really happy with this one.
Okay. I think the coloring is beautiful. I'm definitely starting to see your artistic voice coming out in in your color tones, which is where a lot of my voice comes to. So I think that's going to be how people start recognizing that it's your image as opposed to someone else. There's a few things with this one. I love this line. I would have pulled this elbow back just a little bit further so that it kind of mimicked this line just a little bit more, because it kind of widens her out a little bit. Or in contrast, you keep a little bit of space so that we're seeing the background and a cut between the two. But you really want to accentuate this line. We have enough of it because of the fabric, and you did really good with her posing. But just pulling that elbow back further so that it's even a little bit behind her midsection would be really helpful. This hand is gorgeous. I love it. This hand is very delicate, which is the hard part. I would have liked to have seen the thumb. I think that's what really separates it, because we're the only creatures that have like those long, elegant fingers and opposable thumbs. So it helps make it look less paw-like. So just pulling that down a little bit and pulling the thumb out, I think would have really helped with it. You want to be careful with the big bedroom hair and having it on both sides of the face, because it thickens the neck, because we can't see that line on either side. So in general, I tend to have the hair behind the shoulder, at least on one side, so that you still get the big voluptuous curls, but we're still appreciating the slenderness of the neck and the shoulders. But just the one or two curls, I think works. I just feel like it's a little bulky right here. So if that had been pulled back and we'd have had that line, I think it would have helped. You want to make sure that when they're looking down, that you have them pull their chins really far forward to the point that they feel silly. Like it's like, tell them to think of like a turtle extending its neck out of the shell. Like you want them to almost feel uncomfortable, and then pull it down, and you'll avoid getting any extra flab or double chins under here. But same thing right here, you could go in very easily with the liquify or the warp tool and just kind of pull that section of her chin up just a little bit, just to slenderize it, because we're getting a little bit of that, and that chin softness gets more flabby and less pronounced the older we are as well. She's also got a pretty predominant nose as a facial feature. So if we had turned her just ever so slightly more towards the camera, it would have actually thinned down her nose and made it look a little bit shorter and more petite. And that's just facial play. And the best way to do that, honestly, is to just sit in front of the mirror or sit with your cell phone and take a bunch of pictures and just very, very slowly move your head from one side to the other and kind of learn the angles for different facial features. But overall, I love the coloring. The light's really pretty on her face. The smile is really good. I'd probably go in and just touch out some of these lines right here, because they're smile lines, but they're actually caused by less elasticity in the skin, which makes it a little older. So you always want to keep these ones in the cheekbones because they're expression lines. But some of the extras, the further you go out, it's because the skin doesn't have the elasticity that it has in youth. So it doesn't have the ability to stay taut. It's looser skin because it's older. So I would touch out right here and probably right here and just smooth her skin a little bit. But overall, I love the pose. The styling's beautiful. It definitely has that sort of Sue Bryce kind of flair. And I know that you love the billowing fabric kind of thing. You brought a couple of them last time too. So I think that's really good. The coloring's really beautiful. The lighting's pretty. It works overall. I'd probably go in and just take just this little bit down a little bit and burn it just ever so slightly and take the exposure down, just because it's really hot on her hip and you want the focus to stay towards her face and just the line of her body. But overall, I still think that it's a pretty good image and it would make your current portfolio for me. So I'm going to give it a 2. Okay, tell me about this one.
So I don't shoot a lot of kids, but she was a mini adult for me. She's a 10-year-old kid, but she gave me all the beautiful faces that an adult gives, and she was enthusiastic and energetic, and I that time I thought, okay, I can shoot kids who are enthusiastic as well. So this is something that I have never shot, like somebody with eyes closed. I was a little scared for this. I don't know how closed eyes in portraits actually look like, but I wanted to take a chance. And I had these flowers which I just tucked on into her hair.
Okay.
So yeah.
What would you score this one at?
I don't know. That's what, like, it's a very experimental shot for me. So I I was pretty um I don't know. The clients I thought might pick it, might not pick it, but they did pick it. So I don't know. I just liked it, so I just kept it that way.
Okay. There's one, as long as your clients are picking it and buying, then you're succeeding. You know, take every critique, no matter who gives it to you, with a grain of salt, because the bottom line is that your clients buy your work. So that's
Yeah.
the biggest indicator for success. The portrait itself is pretty. I can understand why it would be appealing to the client. There's a few things. Your crop is a little bit off. You definitely, no matter what kind of portrait you're doing, you don't want to chip off any of the face, and we're losing that little bottom edge
Chin.
of her chin. So if that came down a couple of inches and we saw the neck, it'd be a stronger photograph. It's
Yeah.
making her face look wider because we don't have the neck to slenderize it. The angle is good. The eyes closed is fine. She's got a pretty face. This is not how I recommend that 10-year-olds are shot, though. You got to be really careful. And this is why I don't shoot children or do senior portraits or anything with teenagers, because you get into the modes of what works for shooting women. And the fact is that younger girls are they're just younger women. So those rules do work for portraiture and for accentuating. But I think that we overkilled this one with a lot of makeup that makes her look way older than 10. And then we laid her down and closed her eyes. So you have to be careful about the connotations that people are going to wear and read into that with, why is a 10-year-old laying on her back with a ton of makeup and her eyes closed? You have to be careful about the stories that you're bleeding into that.
Okay.
So I think with 10-year-olds, the makeup is minimal at best, and it's very natural. Like, you don't want to do the cat eye lines and the really heavy shadow and the really bright lipstick. Like, it's for older faces, and it makes people look older.
Okay.
So we're not trying to age her. Like, 10 is still a really young age that we want her to be a child, not a woman. And here we're definitely portraying her as a woman. And I got that feedback even with Mackenzie when I shot her at 15, that she looked too old because we did the liner and stuff. So just things to pay attention to. I don't think that this portrait works for the age range. And I think that you'll get a lot of backlash if you put it in a children's album right now, because she doesn't look like a 10-year-old at all. I knew she was young, but I was thinking she was 16, 17. So just food for thought with that. As far as the image itself, I think that it's really pretty. I love the flower element and the fact that they sort of float off the edge of the print with her. It's got a very dreamlike quality to it that I think sort of reclaims some of that innocence and something that you're going with. I don't have too much to critique from a technical standpoint on the composition of the image. I think the composition is good, other than that chin sort of falling off the edge of the thing. I'd like to have seen her neck and some of her collarbone, I think. Um,
Yeah.
but other than that, I think it's okay. Just be careful of your angles. A lot of times you want to actually shoot more from the top of the head or the side so that you're not shooting like up their nose. No girl ever, whatever age, has ever come in and been like, I really think my nostrils are my best feature.
Yeah.
So just be careful with that. On the retouching side, I think that your skin retouching is getting really good. I'd probably go in and just clean up some of these little baby hairs around, and sort of smooth them out. And probably I'd clean up the eyebrows a little bit too, like all these extra hairs here that aren't part of the main eyebrow. These can go.
Okay.
But other than that, I think it works. And again, I definitely am starting to see this sort of muted, semi-desaturated, warm tone color come through with all your images. So I definitely think that you're finding your voice in the last couple of levels.
Okay.
So I'm going to give that one a 1. I think that it shows promise. I see what you're going for, but I feel like we missed the mark a little bit with that one. Tell me about this one.
So this was my first shoot in the studio, and I had this one balcony which I was going to use for storage, but it had really beautiful natural light. So I put white curtains there, and I got this lovely setup, backlit setup, and I wanted to get motion in again. So with the gold, I really like the feel of backlight on gold. So that's what I was aiming for here.
And how would you score this?
I like this one. Probably again a 2. The head got a little more cut off for me. So
Okay. I actually don't mind the top of the head being cut off. I actually think that I would probably bring it down just a little bit further and probably crop it right here. Because when you cut off the top of the hairline, it makes the forehead look taller. So if you cut it, you have to cut it low enough that that it doesn't make her head look elongated. So I would just bring it down just a little bit to like right here probably. I love the energy from this one, and I like seeing the life in it. I love the turn of the head and the curls. I personally, and this is totally just personal, I would have probably gone in and copied and cloned some of her hair and just thickened it out a little bit to give her hair a little bit more body and fullness over here, and maybe a couple more over here, like a couple little strands like this is really empty, just to make that hair really thick and full, so that you were getting all the energy. But overall, I like it. When it's really, really hard when you're doing motion shots to get it just right because they're moving.
yeah.
This shoulder's up really high and it's making her neck look really short. So having her actually lean towards the camera and drop that shoulder way down will make it look much more feminine, and it'll take 10 pounds off her like that. I do love the expression in her face. You still managed to get really pretty light, which is also